immigrants that were being naturalized were from Cape Verde. And Cape Verde is essentially a small island country where people speak Portuguese. And as you know, when you go to a naturalization ceremony, you go to one in Columbus, there are a whole lot of Somalis that are here. Or I assume you go to one in Springfield, 10 years from now, there'll be mostly Haitians that are being naturalized. In other places, they're Bhutanese. In other places, in Cleveland, they've been Italians, or now there were Ukrainians coming to be naturalized in greater Cleveland. So to me, the joy of this job, there's a lot of joy to me in this job, that I get to wake up and fight for people, and that I get to look around this room and see that people probably represent 25 countries here, the same as a naturalization ceremony. So to sort of educate our fellow men and women and to fly better in around the country, I'd suggest each of you, well, many of you in this room are naturalized, of course, but many of you have friends that have never been to a naturalization ceremony. So go back to one. You've already been naturalized, most of you, but take them to the federal courthouse. It's an hour naturalization ceremony. It's free. You can just go in and sit in the back, and you will see the richness of this country. And you can introduce some of your friends that look more like me to the richness of this country as they join you in watching one of these ceremonies. I have a barber. I live in Cleveland. I live in Cleveland. I have a barber who was naturalized, formidably naturalized citizen in the late 1960s. He was naturalized. He's not been back to a naturalization ceremony since. And I talked him into going with one at the Cleveland Federal Building. And I asked the judge if my friend could speak. And so he stood up and he started talking about his immigrant experience and how this country has welcomed him, and the prosperous life, the hardworking life. He's a barber. He's been on his feet essentially for 40 years cutting hair, and that wears your body down is most jobs, particularly for immigrants, do wear their bodies down and wear their bodies out. And he spoke, and after he spoke, a newly naturalized citizen from Burma spoke, and from France spoke, and from Brazil spoke, and from Nigeria, and Igbo from Nigeria spoke, and it really is, it's the most, I've heard many immigrants tell me that next to the birth of a child, the best day of their life is their naturalization ceremony. And I see many of you saying and nodding, and knowing that's an experience to tell your children about. So my job is to, well, let me illustrate a different way. I wear this pin on my lapel. It's a canary. It's a depiction of a canary in a bird cage. And I think you know enough labor history, wherever he might have come from, that the canary, the mine worker took the canary down in the mines 100 years ago. And in those days had no union that was strong enough, or government that cared enough to protect him. So he was on his own. If the canary died, he got out of the mines. And I think about, I've worn this because it symbolizes to me worker safety. I've worn it for 30 years. When I came to the Senate, they give you a really fancy new pin. It was really expensive, and you put it on and you strut around like I'm a senator. And I wore it about a week and took it off and put my canary pin back on, because they're really more signifies who I am. But I think about sort of the next steps, and I think about who we are as a country, and not just the beauty of the ethnic diversity and who we are with, I think Gandhi said, I haven't used this quote in a long time, that I want no windows in my house, so that the winds of, I don't think he used the word diversity, and it's probably a Hindi word anyway, so I wouldn't know it, but the winds of other nations and nationalities and cultures blow through my house and make my house even more wonderful. And so I think about this pen, and 100 years ago, as a country, the Wall Street didn't decide, let's have Social Security so seniors have a better life, the people of this country. And that was, it could have been new immigrants, it could have been labor unions, it could have been advocates for consumers came and demanded that we have something like Social Security. And then the polluters that had polluted Lake Erie and polluted the Ohio River, polluted the Olentangy, and the Scioto did, and all of a sudden Sammy quit dumping stuff in the water, the rivers. We went out and demanded that they clean this up. The medical interests, the insurance companies didn't all of a sudden say in the 1960s, we're going to provide Medicare for people. No, we had to go out and demand it. Southern segregationist senators didn't all of a sudden wake up in the late 50s, early 60s. Hey, it's time we have everybody have the right to vote. So this country, the beauty of this country is not just diversity, it's also people demanding of their government that their government be more egalitarian, that their government treat people of color and treat people of all backgrounds and nationalities and religions and histories with more egalitarianism and equity. And I think back to one of the things that Dr. King's wife, that Greta Scott King said, Greta Scott King, who went to Antioch College in Ohio, that Greta Scott King said is, no victory is permanent, that every generation has to win its rights. And I mean, I was naive enough, and probably many people were, to think that we would have abortion rights for the rest of our history. We'd always have abortion rights. And I also was naive enough to think we'd always have voting rights in this country. Well, maybe not, but you can see a Supreme Court, knowing there are always ultra-conservatives that would try to take abortion rights away, would try to take voting rights away, would try to take civil rights away. But we as a nation we're going to overcome that. And that's what issue 1 was like. I know that everybody here has probably voted for issue 1, but I'm thinking 9 out of 10 of you did, because you're smart and educated and care about justice. But I just think we as a nation, we make this fight every generation. We will never be a perfect union, but we will be a better union. We will be embracing of people that don't necessarily look like the majority of people who are found in this country. And we will continue to progress. So I thank you for your engagement. Thanks for being part of this. I see a lot of faces I know around the room, and thank you for that. And it's a great country that's going to get greater, and I so appreciate the public spiritedness of all of you. Thank you.
Our family that should have been really celebratory after this harrowing, tragic event ended up being a time of high anxiety and fear of what the future was going to bring for our son. So really, when that happened, I knew I had to change careers. My husband knew that he had to change careers. We both worked in the helping professions and were paid below a living wage, even as college graduates. So we made the decision to do that, which was very difficult. We both started our own small businesses. And the only reason we were able to do that is because we had access to CHIP, the Children's Health Insurance Program. That public program allowed us to start businesses and to create economic opportunities for our family so that we could grow our family and so that we could survive and thrive. So I turned all of that lived experience and professional experience into advocacy work. And I've been advocating at both the federal and state levels on issues that affect families everywhere. Access to health care, in particular mental health care, on affordable child care, and universal pre-K programming so our kids can enter kindergarten ready to learn. I'm deeply, deeply passionate about the work that I do. Running for this office allows me to be on the other side of the door that I've been trying to knock down for years and years and years. So it would be an honor to serve you in the Ohio legislature, and I'm happy to get to meet with you all afterwards as well. Again, my name is Crystal Led. Thank you so much for having me.
Hello guys, I hope everyone is doing well. My name is Shafi Shafat. I'm the president of the Somali American Chamber of Commerce. We connected together many chambers: Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Asian American Chamber of Commerce, Chinese Community Chamber of Commerce, East and Central Africa Chamber of Commerce. And this is a group of minorities that came together. We're non-partisan. We did this initiative just to make sure that our people elect the right candidates. We have to respect our candidates. The issue that happened earlier, we don't expect anyone to disrespect any sitting member of Senate. And it's unfortunate. We want to see that. And we want people to know that these are our people who represent us. And we have to give them the right respect. The Somali community is estimated to be 68,000 Somalis within here in Central Ohio, with over 13,000 smaller LLCs. That's a very big community. I've led the Chamber of Commerce for the last 4 years. As you know, the Somali community are 100% Muslims and they don't go to banks. So the good thing about us is all those 13,000 companies, none of them went to bank. They are self-made. And as you can see, we have two members from the Somali community, Ismail Mohammed, who is sitting there, and Munira Abdullahi, who is here, two state representatives. Thanks for coming out. On behalf of the minority communities, we also give our thanks to Senator Sherrod Brown, who came to us. He respected us, and he came to us while you know how the campaign is. And on behalf of the minority communities here, I'm saying thank you, Senator, for coming out for us today. The rest of the evening is going to be very beautiful. We have many candidates. Please serve our communities regardless of color. Please be Ohioans and make sure when you are elected to the office, give the service you're supposed to give, regardless of either partisan or color. The minority communities have joined hands these times, and we will look at who will support us. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the evening, and we'll continue with this event, and we want to see how many candidates we have here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hey everybody, as a former teacher and a military person, I'm going to get us back on time. Three things you maybe don't know. Education. We all agree that education is one of the most important things in the United States and in our world today. Equality of education, equality of opportunity. That's what we need. In the next 2 years, the next Congress, we will reauthorize the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. That is all of the federal programs for our public and some private schools who work in concert with public schools. Here's something you don't know. Over 60% of the budget for every public school is made from federal dollars. Not local taxpayers, federal dollars. So here are three things we need. We need to increase ESL, English as a Second Language instruction, so that our new Americans who enter our schools have the training, have the support they need to integrate quickly so that they learn and optimize their education. We need more gifted funding. The state of Ohio does not fund gifted education. It forces the local school districts to do that. The federal government should return some of our tax money so that we do that. Number three, the federal government does not fund enough for special needs students. For 40 years, school districts have had a requirement to serve every child according to their needs. But we don't provide much federal funding at all, and the state hasn't provided any increase in 40 years. We need more money for our special needs students. And how many of you have noticed we need money for mental health and wellness in our education system? My good friend Crystal, who's going to win her race for state rep, talked about what was happening in her family, and I would echo that because I lost a brother from mental health addiction. We've all lost someone. We've all carried that burden. We're the leaders in this room. We need to do better as the United States government and serve everybody. And here's two other things. So again, I'll get us back on time. My opponent is for state rights. He is for something called PragerU, private education, picking one religion over another. I've served overseas. I've served in Afghanistan. I've served in Qatar. I've served in Kuwait. I've served in 4 of our continents. I have a broader perspective than almost anyone else in Congress. With your support, I'll be able to bring that broad perspective of diversity and inclusion to our national legislature in a way that is inclusive. And all of you know that when I've been in the State House the last 8 years, I've always worked hard to connect with new American communities in my district. So with that, we have time for questions. Oh, questions at the end. All right, well, that's me, Colonel Adam Miller. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I'm still chewing my pizza. I hope each of you enjoy the food, and let's give a round of applause to all the organizers for putting such a wonderful event together. So my name is Hong. I am representing AACO, that's Asian American Coalition for Ohio. We have a number of leaders and members from AACO. Please raise your hand.
There we go!
About 10 years ago with a vision to really engage, educate, of our flagship programs are the voter education, voter registration events, and the youth public service internship. So if any of you, share the same mission with us, please join us. I see my yellow card. Okay, just want to really quickly wrap up about, the reason why we are here is because we are participating in the democratic process, right? We want to get to know the candidates. We want to get to know what they stand for. Some of the key elements of a strong democracy is that empowered citizens, right? Empowered citizens, fair process, adaptive policy, information and communication, and also the social cohesion. So I want to thank all the candidates for being here to share with us what you stand for, and I encourage each of you to also do more research, pick the right leader. What's really important about our leader is their compassion, their integrity, rather than their promise. Empty could be empty, right? So be careful, make the good choice so that we can have a great government and great democracy. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, it's Representative Munira Abdullahi. I'm from a full name actually, it's even harder. Munira Yassin Abdullahi. I ran for office in 2022 actually, and I was able to be elected as the first Somali woman in the Ohio House. So I'm very happy. In the Democratic Party. The youngest member in the House, there might be one of the yeah, okay. But I ran for office for a very specific reason. I grew up, well, first of all, my family came as refugees. I was born in a refugee camp in Kenya. And my family came to the U.S. When I was about 2 years old. And so I grew up kind of, going through the struggles that, the immigrants go through. Very young parents. But very particularly, my young, struggling immigrant parents were very passionate about community and community service. They made sure to drag me along to every community service project they were doing. They made sure to take me along and force me to volunteer to a lot of different things, and that built my love for community, and it showed me just how much we deal with on a daily basis while trying to survive, while trying to thrive in this country, and the obstacles, the many, many obstacles that are there against us. And against so many people in this country. And I learned that through my nonprofit work and through my activism and service, that all these problems that we're trying to fix as nonprofits, as organizations, activists, we're just putting a Band-Aid on it. Most of it comes from bad policy. So I asked myself, what am I going to do about it? Okay, I was taught, if you see a problem, find the root and solve it efficiently and effectively. And I decided, okay, I'll run for office. What the heck? And so I ran for office, and I'm very passionate about many, many issues. I'm not going to go through every single one of them today. I know we have a long list of candidates, and I want to give my amazing colleagues and candidates their due time. But we have a lot of barriers as immigrants, as Americans, as minorities in this country. There are leaders, a lot of our leaders have failed to address. And so my time in the State House has been mainly to give a voice to everyone who has been underrepresented, because let's be real, there's a lot of underrepresentation happening in the State House. How many of you know that we are the most corrupt State House in America? The most corrupt State House in America, according to the FBI. And that has to change. And so I'm going to take a little bit of my time to talk about issue 1, which is a citizen-led initiative, citizens not politicians, which would change the maps, fix our gerrymandered maps, that allows the State House to continue to be as corrupt as they are, because there's no checks and balances. So please, educate us on issue 1. I have 30 seconds, so I can't do that right now. But go to citizensnotpoliticians.com and vote yes on issue 1, and vote for Supreme Court judges that will support it. So thank you again for having me here. Thank you for doing this. I love these kind of events. I love the diversity of this room. So continue to do things like this, because we are the leaders, and if we don't speak up, who will? No one's going to speak up for us. So thank you all for being here. Please continue to stay involved and stay advocates. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. First of all, thank you so much, everyone, for coming here. And I totally agree with Rep. Munira. So we have so many diverse faces here, and this is what this event is about. I'm one of the organizers of this event. My name is Vincent Wang. I'm the chair of the Ohio Chinese American Association. It is a local grassroots group that basically the main purpose is trying to encourage the community members to participate in all different aspects of the American society, volunteering, going to elections, volunteer for as a poll worker and so forth. And also a couple of programs that we are doing is one of these every couple of years we run candidate forums, candidate meet and greet, so that the politicians, candidates can talk to community members, make sure we have some mutual understanding of what we are doing here and how we make the society better. And we have a lot of youth volunteers, and also we have internship programs. Hopefully some of you guys host our internships and our interns or volunteers. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you all so much for having me here today. I'm Rachel Morocco. I'm running for State Rep in District 60, which is basically southern Delaware County. Actually, we're in it right now, but it includes like the Lewis Center, Powell area up through Ostrander. My background is medicine. As mentioned, I'm a general pediatrician. It's my day job. And that's actually my why for running for office. So, as a pediatrician, I really have kind of a front row seat to what failed social policy looks like. And over the years, I've worked throughout the city of Columbus. I've been through downtown. I work in Delaware now, but I've worked all throughout the city. And I've seen it all. I've seen parents who are working multiple jobs just to support their families, moms who are making a really hard choice about going back to work or trying to afford childcare. Ohio is in the bottom of publicly funded childcare, and that is a huge issue for so many families. Education issues with the school system, I see it every single day. And that was really what motivated me, but really gun violence is what got me into politics. I had many patients impacted by gun violence, and I was frustrated. So I started trying to do more. I started volunteering with a group, Moms in Action. I started working out the Safe Gun Storage Program, and I started spending time in the State House. And what I realized is what I was seeing every day in my clinic, those issues, were not being addressed in the State House. And that's what motivated me to run for office. I'm also a mom. I have 2 boys. My oldest son, Dominic, he's 13 now, but he has special needs. He was diagnosed with autism at age 4. And that journey was really hard to get the diagnosis, to get occupational therapy, speech therapy, to go through the IEP process at school. It was such an eye-opening experience and such a struggle, even for me, who's someone in the healthcare field. So that was really a huge path to advocacy that I never anticipated. And it's what I do a lot every day, is I work with families trying to get it. It's actually gotten harder. It's gotten harder to get these services for kids. Every year it's harder. And so we need more funding at the state level to support that. So what do I support? Healthcare. Healthcare is important to me. Access to healthcare, the cost of healthcare, mental health care, as Crystal mentioned. We are in the midst of a public health crisis when it comes to mental health, and we do not have the mental health care providers to support this need. We need to work to retain our employees, to bring more mental health providers into Ohio. Education is important, fairly funding our schools. We are not doing that right now, and our schools are at a disadvantage. It's raising our property taxes. It is not providing services for kids who really need them. And also supporting our growth. I live in Delaware County. It's the fastest growing county in the state. There's a new house going up every single day if you live around here. So supporting local growth, providing infrastructure for what we need to make our communities safe and prosperous. And so gun violence, as I mentioned, but it's really important to me. I'm here to be an advocate. I'm here to be a voice for those who need it. So I thank you all so much for your support, and thank you for having me here.
Commissioner Boyce and I, thank you. It's good to be here tonight. Commissioner Boyce and I both are running unopposed this year, so we're going to get interested. We're going to split our time and try to keep everybody on time. So I wanted to call note, so the organizations that are all represented here tonight, they're up on the screen, we either can or do work with all of these organizations. If we don't, we can, and some of them we already do. But we can work with them through our community partnerships or through our partners that we work with throughout the course of the business that we conduct as county commissioners. When I became county commissioner in 2009, I began working with the Somali community work group. When Commissioner Boyce became county commissioner in 2017, he immediately began a New Americans work group, and so the two of us have been very much involved in working with New Americans since the time we both became county commissioners. And then I have been very active with, especially the Indian community, some of my good friends that are here as well, because we led through our Sister Cities program. We have a sister city in Ahmedabad, India, and I worked with my good friend Neil Patel's here. Neil went with us on that trip, as well as some of the other friends that we have in the community. We led a delegation to Ahmedabad and to several other cities in India about a dozen years ago. And so we've been working with this community for many, many years and have a lot of good friends throughout. And so we're very happy to be here tonight. Well, we're on time. Here.
Hey, thank you. Commissioner Grady left me like 10 seconds, like yoga class. My name is Kevin Boyce.
Usually the other way around.
That's true, that's true. My name is Kevin Boyce, and I'm currently the president of Franklin County Board of Commissioners. And honestly, I'm so honored to be here. They say there are two ways to run for election, scared or unopposed. And so John and I chose to run unopposed. So we wanted to be here today because we wanted you to understand how important the conversation is about how we welcome our newest Americans. More importantly, I want you to take just a quick second to reflect in 2017 what was going on. We had a new president in office who declared that not only would he build a wall to keep new Americans out, but they were ending sanctuary city policies and really taking on, and that conversation has come back again. And so what John and I, and at the time Commissioner Marilyn Brown, what we did was we came together, huddled, and said, what role can the county play in welcoming our new Americans, and more importantly, sending the message not only to Franklin County residents, but across Ohio, that you're welcome here, we want you here, and we're going to build our community together here. And so we created the New American Advisory Committee, and what it's done for us is not only equip us with the resources to understand a variety of communities, but more importantly, to build for those communities so that no matter where you come from, no matter what part of town you live in, no matter what you want, what issues you represent, you know there's a place for you in the Big Tent of Franklin County. And we're going to continue to do that. Thank you so much for having us.
So glad to be in front of you. For those of you who I do not know, I am Allison Russo, state representative from Ohio House District 7. So I represent the communities of Upper Arlington, Grandview. I have all of the Ohio State University campus and the University District, and some of Clintonville as well. But I also have the honor and privilege of serving as the Ohio House Minority Leader. Thanks to many of my colleagues who are here today sharing about their candidacy. And I want to speak not only as the state representative who also has the pleasure of representing here in Franklin County and Central Ohio and being very familiar with the issues here, but really, you know, some of the things that are priorities for us in the Ohio House, which is centered on many of the issues that have been discussed already this evening. Making sure that we have a strong public education system. 90% of Ohio's children attend public schools. We want to make sure that they are well funded and that they continue to be well funded, because we know that education is such an integral part of making sure that everyone in our community has opportunity. And it's important for all children, no matter what zip code you live in, what your background is, who your family is, to have the opportunity to thrive and build a strong future. We've also been very focused on how do we best address some of the housing needs here in the state. And that means that housing across the spectrum, whether we are talking about more affordable housing, worker housing, increasing housing stock, etc. There are things that we can be doing and have done a little bit of at the State House, but we can certainly be doing so much more. We've also been focused on a lot of times playing defense on access to health care, all forms of health care, and making sure that individuals are able to make their own decisions about health care. But the other thing I do want to share, a little bit of positive news for you, is one of the most important policy documents that we work on in the State House is actually the state operating budget. And there are incredible opportunities in the state operating budget, and I'll give a little plug to some of the work that we've been able to do, particularly around micro businesses and women and minority-owned micro businesses in the state, in terms of making sure that they have money to put grants out, to as the House Democratic Caucus, and a lot of the folks that you see here advocated for, and we will continue advocating for in future budgets. So thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shayla Faber, and it is an honor to be here before you this evening. Since 2019, I've had the honor of serving as a member of Columbus City Council, focusing in on issues related to housing, criminal justice, as well as health and human services. But tonight I'm here before you because I am running to serve as your next Franklin County prosecutor. Now, the phrase prosecutor is a bit of a misnomer. Many of us know it also as DA if you're fans of Law and Order or SVU or anything like that. But let me just break down to you what this job actually is. The holidays are upon us, so think about a pie, if you will, and that pie is divided into 4 equal slices, right? And so part of that pie is the criminal division, where the prosecutor is tasked with prosecuting any crimes that might arise in Franklin County on behalf of the state. The other slice would be our civil division, and if you did not know, there are approximately 35 agencies that fall under the purview of Franklin County. That includes Franklin County Children's Services, Franklin County Adoption Agency, Office on Aging. There's tons of organizations that fall under the purview of the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office. Part of the job also includes legal advisement, and this is provided in our Ohio Revised Code. There are agencies that fall outside of just Columbus, Ohio, so we've got all of our suburban partners. We've got townships and villages that also fall under that. And you just heard from our phenomenal Franklin County commissioners, and this office also serves as a legal advisor in that capacity. I would also offer up that a part of that pie, if you will, would include the job and the role of a chief executive officer. This office is the 3rd largest law firm in Franklin County. And so it demands that there is an executive leader that knows how to professionalize this office, that has the tenacity and the vision to be the type of model and change that I believe that we can be in this community. And last but certainly not least would be that of it truly being a political office. We just heard from our phenomenal leader Rousseau, and this office does have jurisdiction over the State House. We also heard from Representative Manera that that our General Assembly is one of the most corrupt General Assemblies in this country. And so this office has a history of not pursuing any type of investigation as it relates to political misconduct, public corruption, or police misconduct as well. And so I'm running for Franklin County prosecutor because I believe that Franklin County can become a model county that not only works to address public safety, but also works to reform an unjust and inequitable system that leads with transparency, prioritizes accountability, and honors the dignity and respect of every Franklin County resident. Please go to my website, www.shaylafaber.com, to learn more about my platform. Thank you for the invitation to be here.
It's a tricky last name. So my name is Burl, rhymes with girl, Brown, Pickle Antonio. And I have the honor of representing the 4th House District, which includes Gahanna, Blacklick, New Albany, and most of the Franklin County, not all, but most of the Franklin County part of Westerville. And I am just grateful to all of you for being here tonight, for engaging civically, and for continuing these conversations when you leave from here with your friends, your family, people who you know. There are so many things that are important that are on our ballot this year, every year, honestly. So I grew up in an unusual way, I would say, because I grew up in a house where my family was very engaged in our community. I had 2 parents who were role models of public service and figuring out how to lean into their communities, into our community, to see how they could help make the community better. I've gotten to meet a lot of you in those years of service with my parents, and I'm grateful for that role model. So I did not ever myself think that I was going to be a political candidate until until in 2015, living in Gigant, Ohio, we had a divided school board, and I watched how that division and lack of professionalism really impacted the students in my community, which in turn impacted the families and staff, which meant that the entire community was impacted. I'm an attorney by professional background. I worked for the state for about 23 years. The last 10, I was the chief ombudsman of the workers' comp system, where it was my job to help people know their legal rights and navigate the system. When I was watching what was going on with my school board, I knew that the mediation skills that I had might be helpful in bringing my board back together and focusing on what they should be focusing on, which is students. I ran and was elected. I served as school board president for 8 years through the pandemic and through some of the culture wars that followed the pandemic. And it was in that service that I realized that where I needed to be next was in the State House. I plan to run in 2026. I had a wonderful state representative. You might remember Mary Lightbody. She was a fantastic state representative, and when she made a really difficult decision or maybe it wasn't so difficult, she got to be with her grandchildren. When she made that decision, I was fortunate to be appointed into the role, and I think that I was able to come into the role bringing some skills, working from both the state level and local government level, to really be able to best serve my constituents and make sure that the government is working for you, because that's who we should be working for. I see my time is up. I'm going to say my name one more time because it is really difficult. It's Burl Brown Pickle Antonio, and thank you so much.
Good evening to the members of the chambers that are here represented and the coalitions. Thank you for this opportunity. It's a privilege and an honor to stand here before you. My name is Meredith Lawson-Rowe. I am Reynoldsburg City Council President and your candidate for House District 5 for the State House. House District 5 is essentially the southeastern portion of southeastern portion of the state. That is the Franklin County part of Reynoldsburg, Canal, Winchester, small part of Columbus, Groveport, Ovets, Madison Township, and Hamilton Township. And I am one of those candidates that is fortunate enough to say that I do not have an opponent, but that does not mean that it is not important for me to be out to make sure that I'm connecting with communities and also representing my future constituents. A little bit about me. I am, right here, I represent 6 generations of Ohioans. The first generation of Ohioans moved here from Georgia, escaping sharecropping. Thank you. So I am the third of 5 generations of Ruths, and my grandmother, Ruth Ella, we are Ruth Ella. She paid a poll tax in order to vote. My mother, Ruth Marilyn, is I stand on her shoulders. She is a serial community organizer. That is one reason why I have such a love for building community and building relationships, is because she dragged me to every meeting with her and every community organizing meeting with her. And I am Meredith Ruth, your candidate for state representative. My daughter, Nandi Ruth, is our future. I'm standing here before you fighting for the rights for her that my mother fought for me that she does not have. And then my granddaughter, who was on the way, she will be Sinai Ruth. And so it is so very important to me that I lead with my values. So real quick, I want to leave with you. Democracy is not a spectator sport. You all know that because you're here. You have a sphere of influence. So 5 people, make sure you take 5 people to the polls. If you're anything like me, that's your family. So reach outside of that 5. Make sure that we vote down the ballot. We're all very excited for Madam VP, but we have to get Senator Brown in there in order to help to push her agenda, as well as citizens, not politicians, and our Supreme Court. So again, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Meredith Lawson-Rowe, and I appreciate your support.
Thank you so much. And now I want to introduce one Mohammed. I'm always a state representative for District 10, a long-time leader within the Somali community. Ismail, welcome to the podium.
All right, thank you very much, Shafi. So this is State Representative Ishmael Mohammed representing the 3rd District. So if you happen to live in North Linden, Clintonville, but also Italian Village and Victorian Village, I happen to be your representative. I'm serving my 1st term in office. So I've only been there for a little less than a year. Good to see Leader Russo, Rep. Pickle Antonio, Rep. Monira. I think I saw Rep. Miller, Rep. Samani, a couple of my other colleagues that are here as well. Thank you to the whole coalition for having me. So again, prior to me serving, I worked as an attorney. That was my main trade. So I've gotten a chance to see a lot of this work on the practice side when it comes to immigration, when it comes to criminal defense. So I've seen firsthand some of the stuff that people struggle with. So it was an easy transition for me to get into the policy side of it. So in my time in office, I've introduced several pieces of legislation, one of them being to recognize World Refugee Day, making sure that our immigrant communities are respected. We've seen all the different attacks that are going on, unfortunately, and some of the demonization that's going on. And making sure that we recognize that this country was built on the back of immigrants, that we recognize our founding principles is critical. I've also been able to introduce a bill to increase the minimum wage to 15, 18, and 21 over a 3-year period. The current minimum wage is $10.45. It's a shock when I mention it to people, because most people don't know that. So it's important that we recognize that none of this will be able to happen if we don't pass issue 1. I think Leader Russo or Rep. Monira both have mentioned the importance of issue 1, because all these bills will be impossible to pass if we're not able to get a legislature that is responsive to the people. So that's another piece of legislation. One other piece of legislation that I've been very proud to sponsor and support is regarding marijuana expungement. I've seen firsthand over my 8 years of practice that so many of our younger people, especially black and brown people often, are dealing with minor marijuana offenses. And that happens to ruin a young person's life for making a single mistake. So I'm working with another rep to make sure that we can get issue 1, which was passed. So the voters already spoke last November of passing issue 2. So making sure that we put that into law and making sure that we have an expungement process that is inclusive. I'm sorry, I'm being a little loud in my... I can get excited about that, I apologize. So making sure that we put that into law, we have an expungement process which is automatic. Very important that we mention that. You're not going to be required to apply. Once this bill passes, there will be an automatic process that will expunge any record that meets the definition of issue 2. So I'm excited for that piece of legislation. I've been able to introduce a bill. 30-second wrap-up. So I want to mention issue 1, very important. Issue 1, please make sure that we pass issue 1. We educate our community members. We have less than 2 weeks to educate the population on issue 1 and get it passed. That will ultimately be the factor that will determine whether we're able to pass some of the legislation that we're putting forward. Because we have a great piece of legislation that will not pass if we don't have a legislature that is responsive to our issues. So please pass issue 1. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you to the coalition for having me as well.
Hello and good evening, buenas tardes. My name is Dr. Nate Overmeyer. I am a proud osteopathic family physician and I am your Franklin County coroner. It is such an honor to be here with you today. I was appointed in late 2022, so I've been serving as your coroner for the last 2 years, and I'm looking for my first full term. I just want to say first how proud I am of all of you. I don't know if you hear that enough. I don't think we hear that enough, but I am proud of each and every one of you. In my office, there's 2 words that that epitomize me. It's respect and dignity. And so I treat my patients, my living patients, with respect and dignity. And the patients that come through my office as coroner, those folks who have passed and are deceased, those are some of the most vulnerable patients in Franklin County. And they deserve respect and dignity as well. And so through my office, we've tried really hard to continue to make sure I sign my death certificates in an accurate, timely, and compassionate way. Because it takes a long time to make sure we get it right, and the folks that come through my office deserve justice. So we work really hard in the coroner's office to make sure of the 3,000 decedents that come through my office that we're providing justice and compassionate care. I'm looking forward to getting to know some of you in the time afterwards, and I'm again looking forward to continuing this work, this really important work of providing justice to the decedents of Franklin County, the families, and as a family physician, it's rooted in prevention and making sure that we are reducing the amount of gun violence in our communities. 70% of suicides are from gun violence. I don't know if you know that. Thankfully, the amount of overdoses in our community continue to fall, but in 2022, there were 900 people in Franklin County that died of an overdose. Thankfully, again, those numbers are coming down. In 2023, we've seen about 750. But again, folks, 750 folks in Franklin County have died of an overdose. That is unacceptable. We see too many youth coming through my office dying from suicides or homicides. Enough is enough. I'm working hard to make sure we're reducing those numbers. So thank you again for having me. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, good evening everybody. Thanks for having me here, and I really want to appreciate all our candidates. Can we just let's give them thank you. Like Dr. Joy said, I'm Daniel Ajayi, and I represent the West and East African community in our Columbus right now, and of course, we'll anticipate that will expand to the nooks and crannies of Ohio State. And by West and East African community, we're talking about Nigeria, we're talking about Sierra Leone, Uganda, Democratic Republic of Congo, Gambia, and a few other countries that have come together to represent this community. And by population, this community is around 75,000 individuals that actually live in Columbus. And when it comes to our level of impact, this community has concentrated more on education and leadership. And then we have, of course, a bucket of individuals that are also entrepreneurs, and they have their own small businesses. So we're looking forward, and we are glad to be part of this initiative, and we're looking forward to more participation and to also get our people to come out and fulfill their fundamental civic responsibility. Thank you for having me tonight.
I'll take this one because I do have to leave after this. But so first of all, we are very lucky here in Central Ohio. I mean, it's a good problem to have. We've got an influx of jobs and opportunities here. With that, we also have an influx of population. The downside of that is we have to have the infrastructure, and especially the housing, to keep up with those demands. And I will say that there's a lot of work that is being done. This is less dictated by the legislature, but there's a lot of regional work right now that is being done with our Regional Planning Commission, so MORPC. Some of you may have heard this. We're working on a number of issues, not only, and our commissioners can take this as well, not only on the issue of how do we transport people, especially from where the jobs are to where people live, and often it's not in the same county, it may be a couple of counties away, but also how do we deal with some of these issues like zoning. Columbus, as was noted, has been very progressive in leaning into this issue. The reality is a lot of our suburban communities, they want to address this issue, but they don't have the expertise and the resources for that expertise to do that kind of planning, to do an assessment of the zoning, to really think about, how do we plan for the population changes. One of the things that MORPC is doing, which is our Regional Planning Commission, is they are actually giving talent and resources sort of on loan to these communities to come up with these plans and to assess their zoning. So I'm excited about that because it's giving all of our communities the resources that they need to be able to plan appropriately and make those decisions. Now, of course, it's up to local governments and local city councils to pass those recommendations, but they at least have the knowledge and expertise at their hands, which will be incredibly helpful in this space. And then Commissioner Grady, you want to take it?
Sorry, it was working. Leader Russo, great answer. Also, so as the question is stated and as Leader Russo indicated, so the city has stepped up and is leading on this issue. Mayor Ginther has stepped into this space and is working with leaders all over the community But the city of Columbus can't do this by themselves. Franklin County can't do this by themselves. Affordable housing is an issue all across the country. This isn't a large county, small only issue. This isn't Franklin County or City of Columbus issue only. This is a red county and a blue county issue. This is an issue that's going on all over the United States. And we talk to our colleagues across the United States about this all the time. This is a problem that every county commissioner in the United States is dealing with. This is an issue that every mayor in the United States is dealing with. Mayor Ginther has reached out. He's reached out to us. We've been talking with him about it for quite some time. So this is something that we all have to stack hands on. This is something that the city, the county, the state, and our suburban counterparts all have to be able to get together and work on it collectively. We have to work together with our friends in the private sector as well. The mayor has begun to reach out and sit down with his suburban counterparts. He's begun to reach out and sit down with my colleagues in the rural areas. He's sat down and I've provided him phone numbers for my colleagues in Pickaway County, and in Lincoln County, and in Delaware County, and in Union County, so that he can reach out with them. He's gone to lunch and sat down and met county commissioners, Republican county commissioners in the rural areas that he had no idea who they were. I had to introduce him to them. And he's gone out and sat with them and talked to them about this issue so that they can also then begin to stack hands with us, because this is such a big issue.
We have another question, and we're going to open it up to socialization.
Yeah, I would like to ask Dr. Anita Somali, please answer this. So I heard there are some problems Intel is being delayed, or we may have a big problem Intel getting in state of Ohio. So do you want to answer that?
Do I want to answer that, or should I? So I think one of the issues with Intel is they had a very aggressive timeline for building the new manufacturing plant. It was supposed to be done at the end of 2025. And I think, as you know, with everything else, if you've ever built a house, if you've ever built anything, there's always delays. And so now it's projected, there's a projected delay to 2026. The other issue is that Intel's overall profits were lower. They laid off people in their Portland, Oregon facility. And so that may also be creating some delays. But I don't think they've abandoned the projects as far as I know. I mean, if somebody else may have better information, I think it's just delayed.
Thank you.